Welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. This program is brought to you by the kind sponsorship of Bank of Africa, as strong as a group and close as a partner. MTN, everywhere you go. Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert and Sons, seeing is believing. Also, is brought to you by Waylead. Home is where one starts. Star Assurance, that is your solid partner. As well as MG Auto Trading, official distributors of MG vehicles in Ghana. CBG, we stand with you. And Fabrimental, your partner in steel. As you can see, I started with a fix the country shirt, and we're discussing Macho Kaka's issue and the Ejura matter, because Macho Kaka was a fix the country person according to his own testimony, and I believe that if for nothing at all, we should fix our constitution. A number of things need to be fixed in that constitution. Now, my outfit, as you see, is by Habil's Couture. Habil's Couture, they can be found at Ajiringano Gate at East Legon. You can call them 0200 841 988 0200 841 988. Habil's Couture. Now, Sinohydro. This regime started with such a promise. It said that in its quest to bridge the severe infrastructure deficit in the country, the government entered into a 2 billion master project support agreement with the Chinese state-run Sinohydro Corporation Limited in September 2018. Under the deal, Sinohydro, a hydropower engineering and construction firm, will finance and execute the construction of infrastructure projects across the length and breadth of Ghana in exchange for access to sites to mine bauxite. The Etiwa forest was subsequently earmarked as a site to be exploited by the Chinese company for 15 years. Located in the country's southeastern part, Etiwa Forest is 26,000 hectares, area rich in bauxite and other mineral resources deposits like manganese and iron. According to the U.S. Geological Department, the Etiwa Forest holds more than 960 million metric tons of bauxite reserves, valued at more than 500 billion US dollars. It is against this background of sealed wealth that government was able to secure what it touted as an unprecedented barter arrangement to fix Ghana's infrastructural needs. Now, how far have we come? Phase 1 of the project has 10 lots. How many have been executed? Phase 2, what has happened so far? Now, let me go quickly and start with Kofi Bento. Now, Kofi, Imani, once again, you guys were doing, I don't know if it's prophecy or what. You were predicting that there were problems with this. And here we are. It doesn't look like things are as promised. What would you say?
Well, what I'll say is that, like I've said a lot, many times we hope we'll be proven wrong. Why? Because we come with the assumption that government has all the information, we can see only parts of it. But with the parts of the information that we see, we do some very serious analysis, look at things objectively, and try to come out with what we believe is going to happen based on the information we have. And we hope that there will be other things we didn't know, we don't know, we haven't appreciated, so that when it's brought to bear, we'll be told that, oh, you didn't know this, and because of that, we are going to go ahead. If you take some of the issues around this Sinohydro deal, they were glaring, very, very glaring. We were overestimating our reserves. we were overestimating our capabilities, we were overestimating, what we were going to get from this, and underestimating what we needed to do to, deliver on our side of the terms, and consistently. And we don't know why we will do that. Okay, I mean, for instance, we were estimating that if the tonnage of bauxite we were estimating that we had, if we actually had that, we would be one of the world's greatest producers. And as we speak, Ghana is down there below 20th or whatever it is, and so many other things. Now, looking at all the variables, the different things that needed to be done, what we need to notice is that the Chinese don't just give money. What they do is have you in certain terms, and then they will wait. They will give you all the promises, though. The Chinese don't like losing face. In front of cameras, they will make you promises, they will do all kinds of things, and they're a bit different from the Europeans when it comes to negotiations. But they will stick to the terms and make sure you deliver your part. If you do not deliver your part, they are not going to move at all. And they are not afraid of you or anybody. So trying to compress what we came up to, we realized that, look, at the end of the day, Ghana wanted to borrow money to invest in infrastructure. We wanted to borrow between 2 billion and 10 billion. For Sinohydro, we settled on 2 billion. And then we chose to sole source Sinohydro, which is a maker of dams, to go and borrow the money on our behalf, or more or less guarantee it, and then also use that money they borrowed to deliver the infrastructure in different places, a list of which you can see somewhere. Per the terms, Ghana had to borrow our own separate money, get into a joint venture, deliver on the bauxite value chain. And in fact, Ghana admitted and agreed that we were actually going to go ahead and deliver to them alumina, because alumina was about 10 times the value of the raw bauxite. And because of that, Sinohydro was going to go ahead, once they borrow and build the roads, we also do our part, deliver to them alumina. The value of the alumina was going to pay for the 2 billion roads that they were going to deliver, etc. When we looked at what it required for us to build that value chain, rip up Etiwa Forest, build the roads, build separate port facilities, build the alumina and other facilities and whatever it is, we had not done anything towards that. And we could not see any plans towards that. And we were looking at a situation where clearly we needed at least $200 million or so. And that was the easy part. Money is the easy part. But you needed a whole strategy plan, which was phased in a number of years to deliver that bauxite into alumina in a way that makes sense that the Chinese were going to use, none of which we looked like we're going to do. Now, to cut a long story short, when we looked at all the different things, and by the way, anybody can Google Imani, Ghana, Sinohydro, and we wrote a number of papers on that. We came to the conclusion that, unfortunately, it required a miracle for Ghana to be able to deliver on our side of the terms, and we are not miracle workers. In even simple things, we are not able to do what we need to do. We didn't have the public sector, we didn't have the political leadership, we didn't have the wherewithal to deliver on our side. And for that matter, knowing how Chinese people have dealt with us in the past, and we can go all into our history and the different things that we've been able to predict, we were quite sure in 2018 that this money was not going to come. These deals were not going to be done. We still hope that there is something we don't know, and I hope that Dr. Boako will tell us, which will make this come to pass. But for now, we've been dreaming wishfully, and what we need to do is to actually look differently at how we deliver on our infrastructure needs.
All right.
$2 billion, we've borrowed more than that in the last 4 years. So I think we could look at other things instead of this convoluted arrangement around bauxite and aluminum and Sinohydro. Interesting.
Oliver, so far, out of the 2 billion deal, Joy News has done a documentary titled, "Where is the 2 billion Sinohydro deal?" We haven't asked the question, the money. Where is the deal? And it found that government has only money to access 100 million, only 100 million for the first phase of the project. All this while, what does that tell you?
I think that one of the things which is very repetitive in our body politic is the fact that we are very less mindful of the role of civil society and think tanks in the approach and the contributions they can make to policy decision making. And so no matter how much information you get and you sit down and analyze it and you're trying to make any contributions to public decision making, there has to be a knee-jerk rebuff of whatever you say. We have to double down on the government has to double down on its own numbers. rather than critically engaging you to be able to have an honest conversation about this. And you can say this about so many other times when, institutions like Imani and others have pointed at the roadblocks and the obvious, infantile mistakes down the road which are going to bite us in the ass. And we still insist, camp heaven and earth, that no, all right, our way or the highway. If you look at the entire Sinohydro deal, and I'm also actually optimistic in listening to what Gideon has brought forward, there are 4 aspects to the problems that people started talking about from the very beginning. The legal aspects of the deal, for instance, there's the legal aspects of the deal. There's the public interest and the constitutional matter or role of Parliament in approving the deal. Then obviously, a lot of what Imani and Kofi Benson was talking about is the commercial and financial aspects of the deal. Then you can talk about the logic of resource-backed infrastructure financing. And then even the environmental aspects of the deal itself, which was going to lead to a depletion of significant forest cover for us. Regarding the legal aspects of it, if you remember, Parliament was only given the master project support agreement. And this was sort of like a tentative agreement, like we agreed to agree in future kind of agreement. And it was the same kind of agreement that IMF was compelled to look at. The essence of that agreement told us that there was so much more that we didn't know about the deal which hadn't been yet finalized. Like, for instance, Annex 3 of that MPSA, look at the list of projects that we need to do, the rules, the urban leaders, and all of that. That needed its own separate agreements that were not part of this agreement. Then there was a financing agreement that was annexed to the MPS agreement. The financing agreement was sort of very superficial, which even contradicted the government's own saying that there was not going to be any money expended on the Ghana's part. When we know that, in fact, Ghana was making certain financial commitments, including, for instance, the setting up of an escrow, which carried a significant risk of penalties for default. The constitutional aspects of the deal. Like, I don't understand how we so impoverished Parliament in terms of the information that we put before it, that our minority in Parliament is compelled to tell IMF to review the deal on its behalf. Like, it defines logic for a modern Ghana state to be the only institution that is supposed to have control over the public purse, has very little information about it, that it's forced to call on international partners to do the work that we are expecting it to do for us. That baffles me, right? Then commercial and financial aspects, a lot of which Kofi Benson has talked about. One of the most, things that is difficult to understand is, first of all, the valuations that we're putting on our reserves, which were based on estimations that were made on data collected from the 1970s. They were projecting 960 million dollars, which would have made the kind of reserves we had, I think 25% of global reserves, which made absolutely no sense, right? Like, so how do you get into a 21st century deal based on data that you haven't done any attempt to revalue realistically today? And so that what it creates is that the risk of default was not even a risk, it's a certainty of default. You're going to be able to meet it. Okay. You're also promising that you're going to be entering into a territory to require you to mine about 8 million metric tons of bauxite, when at the time the capacity was generating less than 800,000. So it's like a tenfold increase of your generating capacity. And it was unclear who was bearing the cost of producing that. Well, Ghana is promising alumina, meaning that we have to mine it and we have to be able to extract the alumina. And as I remember at the time, we did an investment of about $1 billion in upfront investments, and I think about 300 million year to year to be able to support the deal on our end. All right. Which none of that was contemplated with the Sinohydro deal. Thanks. So, again, it's not surprising that we got back into the same situation again.
Thanks for your perspective. Thank you so very much, and thanks to Kofi Bentel too so very much. Now, we have agreed on an arrangement here, how we're going about it. So we're going to hear from Sami Gyamfi, and then Dr. Boako will bring us to speed where we are all wrong as far as the deal is concerned.
Now, I may have a last bite, right? Well, Zamzen, some of us are not surprised that the much touted Sinohydro deal has turned out as a total fiasco.
Really?
Yes, it has turned out as a total fiasco.
You can't say total.
total fiasco, and I will explain why. It is turned out so because in the first place, it was just propaganda calculated to prop up the image of the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia Gideon Buako's boss, okay, and create the impression that he was doing something extraordinary as Vice President when that was not the case. And that is why today you only find people from the office of Dr. Bawumia speaking to the Sinohydro deal rather than the experts, you know, from the Ministry of Roads and Highways, because this whole Sinohydro thing is his baby, and they want people to believe that, oh, it is the best thing to have happened to Ghana. It is a panacea to our road infrastructure problems, and Bawumia is the brain behind it and all that, when it is all propaganda.
But there are projects going on in Tamale and elsewhere.
I will explain that to you. On the 26th of June, 2017, when they took office, a few months after they took office, the Daily Guide published that Dr. Bawumia had hit a $15 billion jackpot. I'm sure you saw that front page story. Bawumia hits $15 billion jackpot in China.
That's right.
June 2017.
That's right.
And then we're waiting for this $15 billion, only to be told that, oh, it is no longer $15 billion. It is going to be $2 billion. And that $500 million is readily available for the construction of bridges and certain roads. Later on in 2018,
the information minister actually addressed us and was sure that this was the panacea to all our infrastructure problems.
Made a lot of noise about it. Then in May 2018, they presented an agreement to Parliament, two agreements, the master facility and then the deferred payment agreement, which said that phase one was not going to be 500 million, but 649 million. So people rejoiced, people were happy, very expectant. 649 million for 10 lots, meaning 10 different projects, made up of about 70 different road projects. And they captured this in their 2018 budget, 2019 budget, and 2020 budget, when they even declared the year of roads. Now, those projects were not supposed to run ad infinitum. They were not supposed to take forever. They had a definite period for their completion. And we were told by government that all the 10 lots under phase one, $649 million, were supposed to be completed by the end of 2020. Now we are in 2021. And some of the lots, about 4, have not even started at all. And the ones they have started are nowhere near completion, Because per records that were presented by the Ministry of Roads to Parliament in May 2020, and I was told this by a ranking member, Honorable Kwame Abuja, government indicated that so far they've only been able to draw down $36 million out of the $649 million for phase one. Now, we are told by government that they have been able to draw down $100 million. So let's even accept that hook, line, and sinker without challenging that. That $100 million constitutes 5%, only 5% of the $2 billion we were promised, and constitutes only 15% of the $649 million, which was supposed to be for phase one. So if you are supposed to complete a project, 10 lots by 2020, and we are in 2021, and you've only assessed 5% of the amount, or 15% of the first phase, yes, you may be doing something, but that is nothing compared to what we're expecting based on what you promised us. And that is why I am saying that Sinohydro has been a monumental failure and a total fiasco. Now, the reason is what Mr. Bentel explained. They built this whole thing around a so-called barter arrangement. Give us infrastructure, and then we will pay with proceeds from our processed bauxite deposit. So we'll give you alumina. Now, you need an integrated aluminium industry to do that. An integrated aluminium industry you have built with West. As we speak, you've not even started mining bauxite in Atiwa, which was earmarked for this deal. You don't have a bauxite refinery. You don't have a smelter. You see, this is what happens, Samson, when you have a group of people in government who specialize in building castles in the air. A group of people who specialize in empty talk, lofty promises, and deception. That is what is happening. So I can tell you that they are not even going to get 20% of that $2 billion by 2024, because the Chinese are not, they are not, in quote, fools. They know that you are supposed to pay them with proceeds from your processed bauxite. JADEC has done basically nothing. You don't have a bauxite refinery. It will take you minimum 3 years to put that up, and it will take billions of dollars to do that. The company they have awarded Nyinahini to Rockshore, a company owned by a known MPP financier who has no capacity or track record in the mining sector. That one too will amount to nothing by 2024. So what am I saying? Okay. What I'm saying is that, and this is the final point I'm going to make, is that you have had 36, in fact, if you look at the amount of money they have added to our public debt since 2017, it comes up to $36 billion. In terms of Eurobonds alone, they have gotten over $10 billion in Eurobonds. President Mahama got $2.2 billion. President Mills got zero. President Kufuor got $750 million. You have gotten $10 billion. You have not built one secondary school in Ghana to show for that. You don't have one district hospital to show for that. Not one regional hospital. Not one meaningful, significant developmental project that has created jobs, value.
111 hospitals are on the way.
Which remains a mere slogan. Because as we speak, not a single foundation has been dug anywhere. And you have not been able to do anything with all these billions.
Foundation sorts have been cut for a couple of places.
They cut the sort for the Shama District Hospital 2 years ago. They cut the sort for the Eastern Regional Hospital in Koforidua 2 years ago. The District Hospital more than 2 years ago. You go there, all you see is we. So what am I saying? If they really prioritize developmental project or infrastructure, they would have been able to do so with the billions they have gotten. They've not been able to do that, and they are relying on Sinohydro because they have prioritized consumption, corruption, and profligacy.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, Gideon, he just gave you a hint that there's this particular company you're looking to give, some part of a Tiwa to, and they are ready to fight it, and you can see where they are coming from because there was a company associated with the ex-president, right? And you guys came in.
For that company.
You guys came in and quickly, took everything away. And there's a provision in the Constitution, Article 268 and 269, requiring parliamentary ratification of some of these things to make them valid. You have a parliament that, if they say they won't give it, you are most likely not going to get it. Tell us. How are you going to manage it?
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I want to deal with the first matters first. I can appreciate Sami Jamfi and our colleagues in the NDC's incessant criticisms on Sinohydro and the dream that is going to be impossible. Of course, the propaganda of its impossibility, it's what will make its execution a testimony. And so we know what is happening.
This is where we are. You have drawn down only 100 million.
First,
2 billion.
First, there's some level of misunderstanding.
Okay.
Or lack of understanding on this whole Sinohydro infrastructure for bauxite butter arrangement. And we've kept on explaining. For some reason, some people have hackened their hearts and decided not to even appreciate and
help us appreciate. Earlier, Kujopong and the rest were telling us about this company that was going to be set up and all of that.
15
we don't
billion,
see anything yet.
First, you talked about some $15 billion jackpot that we mentioned when we came from China. Of course, the Vice President led a government delegation to China. And as part of our engagements, when we came out, we put out the various engagements we had and what the expectations from the trip are supposed to be. We talked about a $15 billion, which comprised basically these. First was a $2 billion facility that was going to be an arrangement between the Association of Ghana Industries and sister partner agencies, the CNBM in China. Because when we were traveling, we went to some members of the Association of Ghana Industries. So they were seeking to have that arrangement with CNBM, which is like the China version of Association of Ghana Industries. That is $2 billion. And then also, we knew very well that this Sinohydro thing we're going to do, we wanted to use bauxite receivables to pay that. And so we needed to go into what we call integrated aluminum industry. And so we had envisioned that we're going to use about $8 billion to set up the whole integrated aluminum industry by entering into joint venture agreement with private sector. So that is $8 billion. So you add the first $2 billion, that makes it $10 billion. Then also, there was this $2 billion infrastructure for bauxite facility, Sinohydro, that we're seeking to leverage on to build some key infrastructure like hospitals, bridges, clinics, interchanges, roads, affordable housing, fishery landing sites, and what have you. And then also, $1 billion facility for other projects, including the bridges and stuff. And then there was the freeing up, a discussion on the freeing up of the locked $2 billion CDB loan contracted under the previous government, under Professor Mills and President Mahama. If you put this 2 billion, 8 billion, 2 billion, 1 billion, and 2 billion, then you come to the 15 billion package. So it is not as if...
But it was a discussion.
Please,
you are not hit in the jackpot.
Please.
Because you're only talking about discussions.
The journalist says hit a jackpot. It's different from the conversation and the narrative that the Vice President gave. You need to understand it within
Focus on your presentation.
Okay? Then, so out of that 15 billion, we're talking about Sinohydro. What did we seek to do with Sinohydro? We said that we needed to scale up our infrastructure as a country. And the Vice President, consistently in opposition, has said that, for instance, in the building of roads, we cannot just be going to the market all the time to borrow to build roads. Let's look at other innovative ways that we can get our roads fixed. And you talk about the toll and all of that. And so consistent with what the Vice President prescribed in opposition, he also thought about other innovative ways that we can use to build our roads and other infrastructure. One of such is the infrastructure for bauxite butter arrangement with Sinohydro. By the grace of God, we were able to enter into agreement with Sinohydro after the trip. So the Master Project Support Agreement was signed on the 16th of May, 2018. Subsequent to that, on the 1st of September, 2018, some few months after that, we signed EPC and deferred payment agreements with Sinohydro. After we signed that, commencement for work to begin, or commencement for works, on the first lot 3, 7, 8, and 10, started on 28 December 2019. Look at the trajectory of the times, okay?
Lot 3, 7, 8, and 10. Lot 3 is construction of Tamale Interchange.
Exactly.
Lot 7 is construction of Prestia Township and Cape Coast Inner City roads.
Exactly.
A total of 32 kilometers of roads.
Yeah.
And then you said Lot 10, right?
Yeah.
Lot 10 is construction of Hohoi Jasikan, Dodo Pepesu Road and Eastern Corridor.
And Lot 8.
Lot 8 is upgrading of selected feeder roads in Ashanti and Western regions. 68 kilometers of feeder roads in Ashanti and Western North.
As we speak, all these lots, construction on all these lots have begun. Okay, as we speak.
Began.
Please, I'm coming.
We are in 2021.
Please. We started on 28 December 2019. You need to understand it from that point. I'm coming. Commencement on these lots started on 28 December 2019. These lots were part of 10 lots that constituted phase 1.
And they were supposed to be completed when?
Were part of 10 lots that constituted phase 1. Phase 1, the total value of phase 1 was $646 million US. To
be completed.
Please, I'm coming. These 4 lots, these lots that I've mentioned, 3, 7, 8, and 10, had a total value of $335 million US. Okay? Out of this $335 million US, from the December of 2019 till now, government or Sinohydro has been able to draw down 150, a little over 100 million, constituting 34% of the total value of the lots. Okay? So you cannot say that Sinohydro has delayed. It is
when
not.
Were you supposed to complete? You said you are coming. You never arrived. You've been coming for like how many minutes now?
Let me get you here.
When were you supposed
to?
Please wait.
The projects were supposed to be completed in 3 years. Ideally, okay?
It's 1.
The loss that had been commenced, because in the deferred payment agreement, government can only make payments to Sinohydro 3 years after the project is executed. You understand? So there wasn't any thought that we commence on December 2019 and then you finish in 2020. Even as we speak, we all saw how even COVID-19 impacted on activities of nations and businesses and all of that. So we commenced works on these lots under phase 1 on December 2019, virtually 2020, and then COVID began. Even in the midst of COVID, we've been able to draw down a little over 100 million, which is 115 million, out of the 335 million.
It is 646, so it is 15%. Phase 1.
You don't understand. Listen.
Why don't I understand? You are just doing, you're being disingenuous with the figures. Phase 1 is 646. If you draw down 100%, it is 15%.
Please. Why did we put them into phases? We put them into phases because we needed to make sure we go on a pace, okay, that is sustainable, on a pace that will also help us to make sure that by the time the payments are due, we have our bus site and everything in place. Phase 1 had 10 lots.
Yes.
We had agreed to commence lot 3, 7, 8, and 10. That is 4 after the 10 lots.
Which is now not coming. Phase 1.
The 10 lots, you had approval for 500 million.
646 million.
Okay, 646
and
million.
you've drawn down 100 million.
Please.
Sorry, we have just like 2 minutes.
Yeah, please.
But this is my time. I'm
sorry.
646 million for the 10 lots.
Yes.
These lots I've mentioned, for which we had commencement commencement of work, is $335 million. But
that is a subset of phase 1. So you can't use that for your analysis.
We had not come to the other lots. We had not had financial closure for the other lots of phase 1. Okay? So you don't even have a drawdown right on that part of the funds because you haven't had financial closure for that. The part of the funds, 646, that we have drawdown rights is the 335. When I'm saying that, out of the 335 million, within a period of 1 year or 1.5 years, government or Sinohydro has been able to draw down 115 million, which represents 34% of the project. We have been in this country.
Parliament didn't give an approval for you to implement in phases. So why are we where we are? There are those who suggest that government, instead of, allowing the professionals to execute this project, particularly the roads ministry, you have refused to do that.
That is not true.
And that's why the program is suffering.
That is not true. Look, I have in my hands, and we are not in the courts anyway, I have in my hands the Master Project Support Agreement. This Master Project Support Agreement was signed between the government of Ghana, represented by the Finance Minister, okay, and the Ministry of Roads and Highways, represented by the Minister. It is the ministry, it is a ministry that even determines the scope and nature of the projects to be executed by Sinohydro and the cost.
Please,
okay?
phase 1 had 10 lots, true or false?
Please, yes.
And out of the 10 lots, you are saying that you've only started 4 lots. 6 lots have not even started. This is a fiasco.
Listen.
You are saying that phase 1 is 10 lots, you have only started with 4, 6 lots have not started at 4, and even with the 4 that you have started, you have done 33%.
I can understand your difficulty.
33% out of the 4.
I can understand your difficulty.
That is what you have said.
You need to understand.
No, Sammy.
I need to understand what you are not speaking Chinese, you are speaking English.
Sammy, we have run out of time, so you don't have to do that. Let him finish well. Let him finish well. Let him finish.
How is he going to finish well when he's not?
30 seconds.
This is
30
project
seconds.
financing we are talking about.
Right.
This is project financing.
So the project are supposed to take forever.
Sammy, stop. Yeah.
In the wisdom
left.
of the managers of the finances of this country.
Okay.
We thought it prudent that we needed to go in phases and in lots. Okay, so we had agreed on phase 1, 10 lots. We had settled that we'll begin with.
I'm sorry, but we have to look for another time to interrogate this deeply. My guests have been Oliver Baka-Vomawo, researcher, University of Cambridge Faculty of Law, Kofi Bento, lawyer and senior vice president, Imani Africa, Dr. Gideon Boako, spokesperson and aide to the vice president, Sami Jamfi, national communications officer, the National Democratic Congress. I'm Samson Ladi Anyanini. Thank you for your company this afternoon. We should return to this matter. Thank you.